please hit that subscribe button. Hey everybody, better suited to win the Stanley Cup this season. If you are new to the channel, Washington Capitals, the Boston Bruins.
Locked on and he scored! And we're live. Hey everybody, so over the last couple of days we've had a few more significant restricted free agents sign with their current teams, and we're going to see this continue as the RFA period continues on here. We're now into the arbitration period, and a lot of these situations are going to get resolved one way or the other, whether it's the team and the player agreeing to a deal, whether it's an arbitrator setting a contract for next year, whether it's a trade, an offer sheet. A lot of these restricted free agent situations are going to be getting resolved over the next couple of weeks here, and we've had a few more significant ones, and I want to talk about the most significant ones over the last couple days. There's three in particular. Before we begin, I just ask that you please subscribe if you have not already and hit that thumbs up button. Both of those things really help out a lot and are much appreciated. But the biggest one, and the one that happened today, is Devon Taves with the Colorado Avalanche signed a 4-year deal with the Avs at a cap hit of $4.1 million per season. Taves was traded to Colorado by the New York Islanders earlier in the offseason. The Islanders were not going to be able to re-sign him because of their cap situation, so Colorado gave up a couple of draft picks for Taves, and now they get him signed to a 4-year deal. And this is a great deal for both sides, all parties involved. He goes to Colorado, who's already one of the best teams in the NHL and a true Stanley Cup contender. And he gets added to that D-core that already has the likes of Cale Makar and Sam Girard as kind of offensive-leaning defensemen, and they've got Eric Johnson as well. We've got Ian Cole. Like, such a great D-core already there. Ryan Graves, how can you forget Ryan Graves in the season that he had last year? There's such a great D-core there already, and Taves just gets added to it. Honestly, he might end up being a third-pair guy on that Colorado team just because of how good their defense is already. But he's a great, middle pair. I think he certainly could be a top 4 defenseman, could be a middle pair D-man. Might end up playing bottom pair in Colorado just because of how deep they are. But he's a heck of a player. He had 28 points last season in 68 games. He can play on the power play. He can play on the penalty kill. He can play in all situations. He's only 26 years old. He really had, the last couple of years, had some really started to show what he could do with the New York Islanders. And then last year was his first full season in the NHL. And he really showed the level of defenseman that he is. And he's only going to continue to get better as he comes, now at 26 years old, starting to get into his prime here in the NHL. So great deal for the Avs, and a guy that absolutely just takes an already great team and an already great defense and makes it even better. A little over $4 million a year for a guy that is, on most teams would be a number 4 guy. It's a great deal and a really good signing here for Colorado. And for Devon Taves, I mean, you cannot complain about going to one of the best teams in the league. So all around, big win with that one for both sides. Taves 4 years in Colorado. Chris Tierney signed with the Ottawa Senators yesterday. 2-year deal worth $3.5 million per season. And Tierney's kind of become an important guy for the Sens. He had 37 points last year. He's a middle 6 forward. Plays center, could also play wing if you needed him to, but I think best suited as a center. He was one of the pieces that came over from San Jose in the Erik Carlson deal. Last year was his second year in Ottawa. He had 48 points his first season with the Senators. Obviously didn't reach that level last year, but still had 37 in a shortened season. And it was, a really important middle lineup guy for them. And the thing I like about this deal is $3.5 million per year might seem a little high for a middle lineup guy, probably best suited as a third line guy like that. But the Senators are in no predicament cap-wise at all. It's more of a struggle for them to reach the cap floor than it is of them pushing the cap ceiling. So that's not an issue for them at all. And it's only a 2-year deal. And I like that a lot because Ottawa is still a rebuilding team. They're a team that's still, gaining assets, that's still bringing up a lot of young players and prospects, and we don't know how they're going to be at the NHL level yet. But what this does is it gives the Senators flexibility, because they don't have to worry about the money over the next 2 years, because they're not going to be anywhere near the cap. So $3.5 million is fine. And on the 2-year deal, what it does is it puts Tierney in the middle of your lineup for the next couple of seasons while you wait for these younger players to continue growing and continuing to develop. And at the end of these 2 years, when this contract is up, if those young guys, those prospects that you have, turn out to be really good NHL players and are going to take Tierney's spot, then you just let him go. And he's a free agent at the end of, 2 seasons from now. And you just let him go. And it's not a big deal at all. And if these guys don't turn out good enough and you want to keep Tierney around, then you have a chance just to sign him again in a couple of years to another contract. So I like the short-term deal. I think he's a good guy to have around for the next couple of seasons, and then you make a long-term decision on him after that once you have a better idea of what your young players are going to become and whether he does have a spot in the lineup still or not. You could always trade him the second, at the deadline or something, the last year of his contract as well, because a guy like Tierney is a depth guy who would bring a ton of value to a trade deadline team, a contending team looking to, make a push in the playoffs. That's exactly the kind of guy that gets dealt at the deadline all the time. So the Senators give themselves options with that contract. It's a good deal for them, and it keeps Tierney around at least for the next season and plus, maybe full 2 seasons. And he's an important guy for them who plays a big role in the middle of that lineup, kind of as a veteran guy who's been around now for a while, as opposed to a lot of these younger players that they have coming up. And finally, that brings us to our last RFA and notable RFA signing that I want to talk about in this video, and that is Linus Ullmark with the Buffalo Sabres. Goaltender had a really solid season last year. 27 years old. He signs a 1-year deal at $2.6 million for next season with Buffalo. So Buffalo gets Reinhart to sign a 1-year deal. They got Ullmark to sign a 1-year deal. They got Taylor Hall on a 1-year deal. I think you get where I'm going with this. This is a big year for the Buffalo Sabres. Are these guys going to show any sign of improvement, any sign that they can take the next step? Because a lot of them, those guys are all on 1-year deals. Are they going to take the next step or not? And this is kind of a show-me year for a lot of these guys in Buffalo. And for Ullmark, he had a really solid season last year. Actually, the past 2 years, he's been played quite a bit. Started 34 games each of the past 2 years. However, 2 years ago, his goals against average was over 3. His save percentage was only .905. They weren't great numbers. Last year, however, he had a 2.69 goals against average and a .915 save percentage. And I think that's important. He doesn't have a great team in front of him. Buffalo is continually one of the lower teams in the league. He had a .915 save percentage last year. He showed that he can play. And I think Ullmark is a guy that is not going to be an elite starter or anything like that in the NHL, but he could be a 1B type guy, or certainly a very, very good backup goalie in this league, if not kind of one of those goalie tandem situations where you have kind of the 1A and the 1B like the Islanders did a lot over the last couple of years, and other teams like that. I think he can be a Thomas Greiss type goaltender. So, this is a big year for Ullmark. Not a lot of money, $2.6 million, not a huge cap hit, only a 1-year deal. This is kind of a show-me year for Ullmark. Can he have a .915 save percentage again? Can he get his goals against average, down near 2.5? If he can do that, then he's going to be getting a much bigger contract from somebody, whether it's Buffalo or somebody else, next offseason. But I think the Sabres really want to see him do this 2 years in a row. This is a show-me year for Ullmark. Can he do this 2 years in a row and have the same level of play as he did last season? Because last year was his breakout year. Before that, numbers, he either wasn't playing a lot or his numbers weren't spectacular. But last year was a really solid year. I think Buffalo wants to see him do it again before they commit to him long-term or anything like that. So those are the three players I wanted to talk about. Pretty notable signings over the past couple of days. You've got Ullmark, goaltender for the Buffalo Sabres, on a 1-year deal. You've got Chris Tierney, 2-year deal with Ottawa, and you have Devon Taves, a 4-year deal with the Colorado Avalanche. So with that, like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description. If you'd like to further support the channel, our donation link, Patreon, and merchandise store down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.